Welcome to week 5 of our 12-week countdown to travelling and hiking program. I hope you've been enjoying some long, low-intensity walks, starting to build up your endurance and testing out that gear. Today we go deeper into strength training. You should have a few strength training sessions set aside in your week, and ideally have been working through the 4 exercises I gave you in week 2: squats, calf raises, heel dips, and walking lunges. If you're new to strength training, you're hopefully starting to feel confident in doing the movements, and your muscles have started getting used to doing this kind of work. We've touched a bit on why strength training is in the program and why it's such a great addition to your walking training. We talked about how modern life is set up to avoid as much manual labour as possible, to be as comfortable as possible. So as a species, humans are getting weaker and weaker, and we need to be really intentional about use it or lose it. Pushing to maintain our strength is crucial to maintaining our independence as we age. In addition to that, when we hit midlife, peri or post-menopause, we have all kinds of physiological changes happening. Our estrogen and progesterone ratios change, so we have metabolic change, become more insulin resistant, tending to accumulate belly fat, bloat, or have gut issues. Thermoregulation becomes tricky, our sleep, mood, and memory are impacted, so we can't recover quite as well. And from the age of 30, our muscle mass is decreasing, and now at an increasing rate. And hormone change means that we can't regenerate muscle as quickly, and we lose our fast, powerful muscle fibers first. That all sounds quite dire, but the research shows us that strength training at an intense level can stimulate the body in a way that our hormones used to naturally, helping us build muscle and tissue, keeping those neuromuscular connections firing, and counteracting the loss of our fast, powerful muscle fibers. Strength training also allows us to recover in a way that long bouts of cardio don't. In addition to that, strength training is a great way to train for long walking missions. It's time efficient. Most of us don't want to have to walk 20 kilometers 3 times a week to train. With strength training, we can challenge our muscles in a much shorter time period, which also has the benefit of using less overall energy expenditure. So it's also energy efficient. It then creates new muscle and tissue, which powers us up hills more efficiently, meaning we don't need to use as much energy on the trail in the first place. It's win-win. Strength training can also help us target areas of weakness. A number of our exercises are done on a single leg. Most of you will have noticed that one leg will be stronger than the other. With strength training, it's a great rule of thumb to start with the weaker side and just do as many reps as that side tolerates, and then match that with the stronger side. This will help even out imbalances by challenging the weaker side a bit more, progressing it a bit quicker. We can also spot train weak areas that are injury prone, areas like our ankles or knees. Extended walking with its repeated impact on our muscles and joints, with its higher fatigue levels, is a prime time for injury, so we need to be really aware of creating well-rounded strength. Just as a physio will give you exercises specific for an injured area, we can choose exercises that target problem areas. In a later video, we'll give some variations to your strength training regime that do just this. For instance, if you get sore knees while hiking, there are a few exercises that are great to throw into your training to really strengthen the knees in a wide range of motion. While you may have come into this program thinking, I'll just do this for a set period of time to train for a hiking or traveling goal, the real win is if we can set you up for movement habits that set you up for life so that you can maintain your independence and do what you love for as long as possible. As the saying goes, you want to be the oldest person in the gym, not the youngest person in the rest home. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty about how we go about strength training. Strength training comes in all different shapes and sizes. How we strength train is important. If we want to make progress, if we want to get all those great benefits talked about above, combating aging, minimizing injury, getting stronger, how we strength train is important. You may know some gym goers who are regularly getting injured. It's not uncommon. Often people can end up doing the same movement over and over, unconsciously going for quantity of reps over quality of movement, building disproportionate strength in a limited range of motion, neglecting that our bodies are designed to move in a whole raft of ways and need a lot of different elements of challenge, like building strength in a wide range of motion, impact, balance, motor control. We'll look at how we fold in this extra complexity as the program progresses. But for now, let's look at how we do basic strength training well. For effective strength training, consider these principles. First up, warm-ups are your friend. Be gentle to your body and start the hard work in a warmed up state, whatever this looks like, whatever your preference is for you. If you're new to this kind of work, even if you've been doing it before but you're not confident in how you're doing it, take time to get to know the movements. You may need a few weeks or more for your body to learn the pattern of a squat well, the coordination required for a heel dip. Grab a mirror or video yourself to get feedback on what your form looks like. I still do this from time to time. We all have imbalances and weaknesses from decades of doing things in a certain way, which we probably won't completely eliminate, but we can work on. Before you start to work, organise your body to create the strongest foundation for strength work. You want a sufficient level of stiffness in your core, not super rigid, but your pelvic floor and diaphragm is engaged and not loosey-goosey. If you have issues with your pelvic floor, incontinence, weakness, etc., it's important you take time to work on this first as a foundational strength to support your strength training. You need to be able to generate a certain amount of intra-abdominal pressure to keep your core stable and be able to contract your muscles quickly and efficiently and to be able to breathe throughout. So here's a checklist. This will come up again when we do the strength training video. Start with your feet. Hip width apart, directly under your hips. Screw your feet into the ground. So this is a clockwise movement, pushing down for your right foot, counterclockwise with your left. Next, activate your glutes, your butt. Give it a squeeze, check it's contracting. If you're ever struggling to make that connection with a muscle, you can even tap or apply pressure to help your brain make the connection. Squeezing your glutes should bring your hips into a neutral position. If you're not sure what this is, rock your hips back and forth to get a sense of where you sit naturally. Think of a bucket of water stacked over your legs. You don't want it spilling water out forwards or backwards. You want it nice and neutral in between. Take a breath into your belly and lock this position in. Keep that rib cage stacked over your pelvis, over your feet. You should be able to relax yourself, your glutes, your belly, and breathe in. And then as you exhale, able to stiffen and brace, making sure you can connect with all sides of your diaphragm, your belly, your back, the sides, and you should be able to feel your pelvic floor contract and lift as you exhale. Next, rotate your shoulders back, centering your head over your shoulders. Take a few minutes to work on getting this foundation set. Your skeleton stacked on top of itself, not overly extended and rigid, not hunched. It takes time to get the hang of this. There are a few different components that need to be coordinated, some of which may come naturally, others which will take time and concentration until you're able to do it unconsciously while you're working out. Next, once you're able to set a strong foundation and you're familiar with the movements of an exercise, progressive overload is a really important concept. Our bodies adapt to what we ask of them. So if we do the same exercise over and over with, say, a 5-kilo dumbbell, our body will adapt over the first few weeks to build the necessary strength and then plateau. We'll stop getting stronger. Our bodies are designed to conserve energy, not waste it if it's not needed, which makes sense for most of human history where we've lived gathering food day to day. So we need to force our bodies into getting stronger to match our goals. So every 4 or 6 weeks or so, we should be progressing our training. We might make the weights we're working with heavier. We might make the exercise itself more complex or slow the movements right down. There are lots of ways to make an exercise more challenging. My preference for you over the course of this program, for the reasons we talked about, is to either increase the weight or to decrease the time. I want you to care more about the quality of the movement than the quantity of reps that you're doing. Once you're familiar and comfortable with the movements of strength training and what it feels like to progress it, you need to go hard. You should be really struggling to do your last reps well. This is called training to failure. You should be feeling the contraction of the muscle as you work it, the pump, or the next day you should feel really fatigued in the same areas trying to do similar kinds of movements throughout your day-to-day life. Looking for one of these signs is great feedback that you're hitting the level that you need to be working at to get those gains. You might have come across advice around different rep counts for what your goals are: strength, muscle mass, endurance, etc. And generally for endurance, we would work at a higher rep count, 15, 30 reps. But I want you to set that aside for now and just learn to do what your body needs the most in this stage of life as a woman in her later years to build strength and muscle by lifting heavy. You'll be able to build endurance naturally through actually walking. So you want to aim to be working at a level where you're struggling to do no more than 5 or 8 reps. It is important, however, that you're still able to keep good form while you do this. So don't just work to the rep count. Pay attention to your body. So for instance, it might just be for the first step. You can just do 8 squats with an 8 kilo weight. You can't quite push yourself to make 9. So you stop here and you take a rest, and then you come back. This time you're going to be a little bit more tired. So this time maybe you can only just do 7 reps with good form. That's fine. The next set might only be 5 reps. You're in the right zone here. You're training to failure. Don't worry about getting bulky. This is super hard to do. You would need to be in the gym way more, eating way more. It's not going to be an issue. It's important that you make the mind-body connection while you train. It's tempting to distract yourself somehow when you're working hard, but you need to really make that connection to pay attention to what you're doing and what muscles that you're engaging. Rest in general is so important. Our overall energy levels are so important because training depletion can set us up for injuries, and our bodies simply don't have the ability to make the gains that we're wanting. How much overall energy you have when you turn up for a session depends on a lot of factors: how well you've been sleeping, how much you've got going on, general stress levels, where you're at in your cycle if you still have one. The week before your period is not the time to go hard with training. It's the time to take it easy. Fueling is also really important in supporting this. You need to be eating enough to fuel your session, to recover and build muscle. Generally, females don't get anywhere near enough protein in their diet to support building new muscle. We should be aiming for around 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight a day. So that's around 30 grams of protein with each meal and a few snacks of 20 grams. Females also need around one of those servings to happen within 30 minutes of a strength training or a hard workout session. So chase that session with something like a protein shake quickly. Rest times are also super important when you train. So taking that 2 to 3 minute rest time between exercise sets allows your muscles to reset and come back hard. It's about the quality of movement. If you don't do this, you won't get the same gains. I know it can be tempting to skip these if you're feeling good or you're in a rush. Don't. Next, learn to pay attention to your body. I know I've said this a lot and I will keep saying it. Learn to check in with yourself at the start of a session with general energy levels, but also how are your muscles feeling while you do the work? How do they feel the next day? How long does it take you to recover? How are those progress markers going? This is all helpful information to know if you're doing enough, just right, or too much. The question of how many sessions a week you need to make gains comes up a lot and really depends on a few factors. Hopefully you're getting the picture by now that effective strength training is a balance between pushing yourself hard and adequate rest, fuel, and recovery. It's also quite personal. People adapt and build muscle differently. Some find it easier than others. If you're new to strength training, you may have a period where you see lots of gains. 2 20-minute sessions a week might be enough for you. Personally, I need about 3 sessions a week or 2 really big sessions where I'm doing around 10 sets per muscle group to see gains. Phew, okay, that was a lot of information. It will take time to assimilate it all and to play around with the different ideas and factors and to see how they work for you. So that's it for content for week 4. Have a great week.